I also wanted to make mention of the fact that I couldn't help but think about the case that's right all over the news as we speak. The case of the New York police murdering Sean Bell, firing 50 bullets at three brothers coming from a bachelor party, undercover plainclothes police officers, and they all three were just acquitted. I mean, it.
I'm neither shocked or amazed at that. That's a continuation of the way things have always been. The police have always murdered and brutalized people in the community, and justifiable homicide is their free ticket in the community to do whatever they want. They run amok. They're not accountable, and they don't answer to anything or anybody.
That's right. So, what happened in New Orleans
Well,
in 1973?
okay, in '73, what happened is that when we was in the process of going to court for this assault on the police officers in Los Angeles, the climate in the atmosphere at that time was Richard Nixon was president, and yet J. Edgar Hoover was still alive at the time, and COINTELPRO was in full form. And we were able to get out on bail before the trial, but the atmosphere of the country was so crucial that we didn't feel like that we would get justice in the courtroom. So we just decided that we wouldn't come back to court. And John Bowman, he went one way, I went another way, Ray went another way. Uh, and at one point, John Bowman was in New Orleans, and he gave me a call, and he wanted me to meet him in New Orleans, to help him do some organizing. And I decided, I told him I'd come. And so when I got there, I think I was there 3 days before the police arrested us. The FBI arrested me, John Bowman, and a sister that was with us at the time. Her name was Kathy. We were all arrested in New Orleans, and they took us to the police headquarters, and FBI tried to question me, and I told all of them I didn't have anything to say, that I wanted a lawyer, I wanted a phone call, and they proceeded to beat me. This lasted for 3 to 4 days. They beat me. They tied me to a chair. They used a cattle prod to shock me. They used plastic
Electric cattle prods.
Right, and they used a plastic bag over my head. And they asked me to make statements. I refused to make statements, and they continued to do it. I went to court. This happened on a Friday or a Saturday, I think. I'm not sure. But I went to court that Monday. They refused to bring me to court, myself and John Bowman and Reuben Scott, down to court to be arraigned. I think they said they was charging us with robbery, but I was never charged with anything in New Orleans. I was never. They arrested me not knowing who I was, but they still arrested me and detained me and beat me and brutalized me and tortured me those days.
And there's a video by Freedom Archives out that's titled "Legacy of
The
Torture."
Legacy of Torture.
That gives more details.
It gives more details, and this, we're on a limited amount of time, so I can't go into a lot of details.
Right, I know.
And this case is still under litigation, so I'm limited on what I can say. But anyway, after the judge, they took us in front of a judge. After people in the jail noticed that we didn't come down to go to court with everybody else that was arraigned, that was arrested over the weekend. And you had people down there telling the courts and the public defenders that they got 3 guys up there that they're beating on and torturing, and they didn't bring them to court. And the judge ordered them to produce us. And then when we got down there, we explained to the public defender what was taking place, and the judge ordered them not to question us anymore without a lawyer being present.
All right.
So, well, they told me before I went in the courtroom, if I opened my mouth, I was going to get the same thing. So when we got back, when we was getting on the elevator to go back upstairs, which I think was at the 6th floor, they beat us from the 1st floor to the 6th floor, took us back in the room, continued to beat us, continued to torture us, and that went on all night. And each shift that changed took their turn at us. They would take us through a gauntlet of police officers that were kicking, beating, spitting, stomping. I think I was knocked out maybe 3 or 4 times unconscious. And I was awakened with kicks to the head, to back of the neck, to my lower back.
Now, I understand you suffered some ear injuries.
I had they would step behind the chair and they would slap your eardrums, slap your ears real hard. I had bruised eardrums in my right ear. I don't hear very well out of it now. I had fluid running from both eardrums. So that went on for a while. I think we stayed in there for maybe almost a week before the judge ordered us over to the custody of the sheriff department. which is parish prison at the time. It's something like a 300-year-old prison where they used to sell slaves from. And they put me and JB in like a big giant bird cage where it rained in there on us, and I think I weighed about 198 pounds when I went in there. I come out, when they extradited me back to Los Angeles, I weighed 136 pounds.
Oh, my goodness.
So that was a horrific experience, and I continue to have nightmares today about it. And now the same police officers that was in New Orleans interrogating me and having me beaten and tortured is the same ones that knocked on my door to question me about Ingleside.
In 2003?
In 2002.
Two.
Yeah, and then I went in front of a grand jury. 5 of us. It was John Bowman, Ray Boudreaux, Richard Brown, Hank Jones. We all went in front of a grand jury.
And Richard O'Neill as well.
Richard O'Neill didn't. He didn't. Well, he did go in front of a grand jury, but he wasn't detained. But we were detained and held in contempt of court for refusing to testify.
Right.
Well, we didn't want to testify because we didn't want to tell lies, you know, and they wanted to force us to lie on each other. And so we all took a stand that we'd take the fifth, and they do what they have to do because we were going to fight them.
Right.
And so they held us for, a month and a half until the grand jury expired. And once the grand jury expired, the judge released us, saying that the grand jury couldn't indict us, they wouldn't indict us. So that was over with for then. And exactly a year later, I received another visit where they wanted saliva tests for DNA. They want fingerprints and all that stuff, and they said they had new evidence and new technology was available where they wanted the DNA of all of us. And so we did that. They had a court order. And then maybe 8 months later, they round everybody up.
Right. They even went into the prison to do the DNA testing on Herman Bell and Jaleel
Bottoms, right.
Anthony Bottom. Right.
And they're sitting right there at 850 Bryant Street right now.
I know, it's outrageous.
They've been in prison for over 36 years, and they've been in there for the same kind of COINTELPRO setup and frame-up that's continuing today with different people all across the country. The same thing with Mumia. The same thing with
Abu Jamal.
Yeah,
yes,
the same thing that's happening with the brothers in Omaha. There's ex-Black Panthers. They made promises that they was coming after every Black Panther that they felt should have been in prison, and they said they would see to it that all of us would be locked up for the rest of our lives. Right. They've called my family. They've called old friends. They've threatened me. I've had just about everything done said to me. And even after John Bowman passed, they continued to look for him.